Hey guys, okay. So last year I posted a picture of my ice fishing sled. Now, if you know anything about me, my favorite activity for winter is ice fishing. Last year I got a sled, brought it into the shop, and I made a little nice setup. First time I went out this year, I decided that that setup was not what I was really liking. I had stuff still everywhere. So I brought it back into the shop this year and I've done some upgrades onto it. So I'm going to do this video on kind of what I've done over the past 2 years to make my sled what I think is going to be really, really fun for the rest of this season. So let me show you what I did. Okay, so one of the first things I wanted to do was I wanted to make it drag a little bit better on the snow and ice. And I wanted it to kind of stand up to more wear and tear and beating coming from off the truck onto the concrete before you get out onto the ice. So to do that, I actually got some skis from a guy at work. Were free, which was a big plus. I cut them down and I attached them with a couple bolts right through the bottoms up to the top into the sled, which makes it a lot nicer for dragging on the ground. I'm not going to wear through that thin plastic as fast and as much. Next was I wanted to do is I needed to basically make a structured skeleton, and this was like the skis weren't really the first thing; they were the second thing. This is actually the third time this has been in the shop. I made these kind of risers here. That was so that, and I'll show you that for the purpose of that later. But I did these risers, and then on these risers, I actually did what I think is pretty cool, is my own little custom way to hold poles. So if you see right here, I have one on each side, and they slide in and out. So therefore, they sit, they're not sitting way up high, so they're not going to get banged and broken. Your tips aren't going to get broken. So they have the protection of the cut up PVC here, and they're laying down, which is great. Because the way that I use this, and I actually measured this out perfectly, is this whole unit slides right under the tonneau cover of my truck. So I can just lift it up, throw it in the truck, strap it in. Strap it in is important. And we're ready to go. So I did that. Now, what I did was for my auger is, the auger's kind of the big pain in the butt one. So I actually got this, and this is what I did this year, is I've always had it hanging back here. This year I added this little arm right here to keep it up, because last year it was banging on the bait bucket quite a bit. I didn't like that, so I took that pressure off of there. So that's been a big plus for this year. I added this small little piece of PVC. Now, my scoop is always kind of just flown around in there, just kind of wherever, and then you spend forever looking for it. And if you're hole hopping and just, I wanted to get a good place for it. If I were to, so I hang it right there. Now, if I hung it without this little nipple hanging out right here, it was going to drag on the snow just a tiny bit. So I actually had to make sure that I didn't go above that tonneau cover level. But it sits nice and perfect right here. I got a little bit of play. So I kind of like that. And then again this year, when I was out last weekend, when I go out with my auger, as you can see, I've got the drill attachment, clamp plate to the drill for the auger. I always bring out the handle just in case something goes wrong with the drill. That way I'm not left without the ability to make holes. But the handle has always been in the way. So I actually took some conduit strapping, and I did this little setup right here. Just two quick conduit things. I actually cut about 1.5 inches off of the shaft, therefore it doesn't hang over. But now it hangs nice and hangs right there, nice. It's a little harder to get off, but if I gotta get it off, I can get it off. It's not gonna fall off. It's not gonna rattle around. It's not gonna be in the way. Let's see. So something, and then this year, something else I did was I like to bring out. This is the seat that I've always used. This year it broke a little bit, but I wanted to have a place I could hang the seats, because again the seats get thrown in the sled, and I'm trying to keep it organized and tight. So I added this hook on the back, and I'm able to hang the seats right there. And if you look, there's plenty of space where it's not going to be dragging all over the place. Really happy with that. So now this year I also added 2-inch pieces right here, just to kind of give me a little leverage for what's in there. Now you're going to get a little surprise. You're going to get a build video inside a build video. Alright, surprise build video. Last year I went to go look for a bait bucket, and I didn't really want to spend the price on those bait buckets. So I thought I can make my own. So here's what I did. So I got a 2.5, I believe it's 2.5 or 3 gallon bucket from Menards, and I got the lid. I actually just cut the lid off. I added hinges. I added a latch. I actually riveted the latch on. It's actually got bait in there right now. A lot of it's still dead, but it's still in there. And then to keep them alive the best I could, I got a little aerator bubbler for Christmas that I attached to the side. So I just ran the hose up through, siliconed it in, made a little slit on the back for it to hook on, and I run it like that. And now, as a little bonus here, is what I also did is my kid's old fish tank is I took the bubbler off that plugs in. So during the off time of not fishing when I'm home, I just take the bait bucket out to the garage because it stinks. I plug it in with the fish tank aerator. Therefore, I'm not running off the batteries all the time because the batteries are expensive. So that's a little quick inside build video on the bait bucket. Been very happy with it. It was very low cost. All right, now once everything's pulled out, you're down to the bare bones of the whole situation. And this is what I did last year: is I used 1/4-inch acrylic, and I actually made inserts for where everything goes. You can see here is where my heater goes. I got my bucket that I sit on and carry out my jigs. My fish finder goes right here. Bait bucket goes here, and you can see I actually have the cutout for the aerator on there. I have a storage little section up here is where I keep the straps, and I'll show you why I have the straps. That's my nice quick one. And then I have this right here, which actually opens up, and that's where I keep an extra propane tank. I keep an extra rod holder. I keep the thing to put my phone in case I go swimming. I got cleats, but it's nice right there, closed up, snap shut. I'm not going to lose anything. And I did end up rhino lining or just bed lining the bottom just for, I just did. But that's kind of where that whole situation sits right now. And now you're probably wondering, what about a shanty? Let's take you to it. All right, now before I get to the shanty, one last thing that I forgot to say is I actually have, and I used to have two of them. I used to have one over on the side where I put that arm for the auger. I have a little spot right here. Slides right on in, and you can actually put another pole up. You obviously put that in after you get out of the truck. So basically, I pull up to the spot I want to fish, pop the tailgate open, take the sled out as is, because the sled is going to be just like this in the back of the truck. I can move the pole up if I want pole. But the shanty is, I have a 3-man hub style Eskimo shanty. Literally, you grab it, and you put it on the top. And you put it on these risers that I talked about before. Now I have 4 eye hooks, 1 in each corner. You come over, you take one of the straps that I showed you earlier. I use cinch straps because they're quicker and easier to use. I don't need a ratchet strap because I'm not really needing to ratchet down. Get it down, cinch it in, cross the other one on there, and shanty's not going anywhere, and you're ready to go out and fish. So that was my jet sled. If you got one that you modify for fishing, drop it down so I can see, because that's actually how I kind of got the idea for what I got. This has been